You do a quick explanation on the map in which why Antarctica is not the best, or I guess the ice wall, but there is a separate border that surrounds the Earth. Why it would be different than when they tell us that Antarctica or the South is the ice wall, which is what normally they say when it comes to flat Earth. So mainly the fact that, so look at all of them, they add space to a flat, so it makes no sense, of course, like this. That's why they say you're gonna fall off the edge and all of those stupid things that they say because they see it from the point of view of space. Now, this is the map that they most commonly use, right? Which is similar to this one. So I'm going to use this image because it has the sun and the moon. So they say that the sun and the moon do circles around, right? So right in the middle to them is the north, right? To them, this is the north. And this would be the south. So they say that the ice wall is the south. Now, if that is so, then all stars would go always to the same, in the same direction. If you are in the north or if you're in the south, stars would go this way or that way, but just one or the other. However, that is not what we see. If we go to the south, we see different stars than if we go to the north. If we go to the south, the stars move the other way that if we go to the north. So if in the north they move um, counterclockwise, for instance, if you go to the south, they will go the other way. Just like water, when you flush the toilet, if you're in the north, it will go around one way. If you do it in the south, it will go around the other way. But in this model does not work because stars would always go to the same. Water will always flow the same. And south and north would not be corners. North would be center. South would be circumference. East and west would be sides. So stars would move different. I mean, they move different. Water moves different than in this model. Now, I will show just a second. And just so you guys know, I used a map that is not perfect, but it would be closer perhaps to the true way in which the earth would be. And well, another thing that I would have to say, but this that I will show, I hope nobody gets confused, but this that I will show is just to answer what Celio said. And because in this way, the movement, as I was explaining regarding the stars in the water, fits, it works. Because also it is said, and it is possible, but I just haven't confirmed it, at least so far. It is said that the the dark part that we see on the moon is a reflection of the land, the continents being reflected on the moon, or at least that Yahweh drew them on the moon, but it could be a reflection. So the dark part of the moon, like you can see, I mean, you can search um, the continents or the map of the earth on the moon, and you will see how some people distribute America and Europe and Asia and all of that on the drawing that we have on the moon. If that was indeed a reflection, then that would be the map, obviously. But while that is confirmed, and you can go and search for it because I do see it as interesting. I've heard it from several sources. So I've heard that from several people. And that map that would come from the moon, from the way we see the moon, the dark parts of the moon, that map is different than the one that they use in flat earth or the one that they use in the UN. So it's different than that. And it's different than this one that I will show. So that's why I said that could be the map. But till we confirm it, um, I'm showing this one that it is closer to what we've been told. So um, hopefully you're seeing the images. By the way, this is the window in the heavens which was open. They call it the um great rift, the great rift, for it was a rift that was open for the waters to come down during the great flood. But they say it's a galaxy because it looks different. But why do they call it the great rift? So even the name. So this is the window that Yahweh opened in Genesis 7:11. Now, look at this. Obviously, this looks a lot like a globe, but see it as a flat surface, all right? See it as a flat surface. Now, as we will see in the book of Hanok, but we are some chapters away, chapter 72, it says that the sun goes through 6 doors. Each of those doors or gates is one of these 6 lines that we see. And the colors have to do with the seasons on which they go around this part of the earth where the circle is going. This is very important. In the book of Enoch 72:5, it says, and I will translate roughly, the wind takes the car in which he ascends, and the sun hides and returns through the north to come back to the east and be led through the gates and shine on the face of the heavens. So you see in the mouse, the east, the sun comes from the east and shines to the west. And according to Hanok, goes north to go back to the east and rise again. And that's why it forms the analemma. The 8 throughout the year, it forms an 8 because throughout the year, if it does this movement that I'm seeing with that I'm showing with the mouse. So look at the mouse. It goes like this. So that's why up here, the waters would flow this way. And down here, the waters would flow this way. Because it goes with the movement of the stars, the movement of the sun, the magnetic field, and all of that. So it is like an 8. Here it goes this way. Here it goes that way. So the wall would be obviously where the sun doesn't shine that much. It gets frozen. So also there are stories of a person that went and tried to go around it and he couldn't make it. So he quit pretty much from trying to go around the wall of ice. It was way too huge. Also, remember, I repeat, do not take this map as exact because it's not exact, but it may be closer than what we've been told. I mean, regarding flat Earth and the UN map. Remember also that there's a person who saw, well, there's a hole in the north. It is said that there's a hole in the north that can take you within the earth. And that is interesting because in Hebrew, it seems to point to the north being hollow or being a hole in the north, by the way it is written in Hebrew. Also, it is said that the admiral hired by the United States, Byrd, he found a whole continent. So he went south and he continued to go south and he found a different continent. So it seems that they haven't told us of one or at least, or perhaps 2 continents. From that same explorer, we get that information. Just one person found a couple continents, but they hid them and they didn't tell us that they exist. And they told us that it's a globe so that nobody can go and search for anything else. But he found a whole continent full of resources. And he said that the continent was the same size or bigger than the United States. So imagine so much land and they don't tell us. And that it was recorded in an interview. You can search for it. So there are other continents that we cannot see here, for we don't know where they are and they don't tell us and all of that. But The book of Enoch says that that is the movement of the sun. That's why it creates an 8, the analemma, throughout the year. Obviously here the 8 looks wider because here in the analemma, a person is looking, let's say here. So, well, the shape changes because the sun here, the sun when it's here is going to look farther away. And that's why the circle on top is smaller. So that's pretty much the reason why it looks like that, because, well, it also depends on where you are on the earth, of course. Last thing is that by having north, south, west, and east, well, east and west here, we have the 4 corners established, pretty much 4 corners instead of 1 center, circumference, and sides. If hope that is understood. And also, well, you here have the circles, as they call them, right? Cancer and Capricorn, but they draw them on a globe. In this case, would be like this. So, and they are called Capricorn and Cancer because when it is on this circle, it is going through the constellation of Cancer, which is where we are right now. Well, closer, because there are some days that the stars are late. And when it is on the green circle, it is on the constellation of Capricorn. So that's why they call it like that. Now, what was going to say something?
So if Antarctica is not the ice wall, why is it so restricted? I mean, it will be possible to go explore and just realize it's just a big mass of ice.
No,
There's nothing to it.
Because if you continue, you will find the other continent that Bird found. So the in this case, the answer would be so that you don't find the other continent, not the actual wall, because a lot of people, well, just with the wall, they will go back, most people. And because it is kilometers, yeah, you got to go on top of the wall and keep going and going and going and going, and eventually you reach the firmament. But it is not that easy. It's not like you're gonna get to the wall and then you see the firmament, or you're gonna find out that there's a firmament. You actually have to continue going, and for that, not only you would need permission now, but you would need also a lot of equipment, that only rich people could afford, and they already know the lies that they're telling us. So it would be, when it comes to that question, which is a great question, would be to hide the continent. And for instance, also the well, yeah, I guess with that. But yeah, that's a good point. Actually also with the thing that I just showed, right? Like the meme where they had the treaty that they made. So I understand that, because that's the main thing that they think about, that they were hiding the firmament. But actually the hiding of the firmament, they accomplished it with NASA, with creating space and telling everybody that there's nothing else to discover. And I'm sure that just like there's that treaty regarding Antarctica, I wouldn't doubt that there would be issues if you were to go north, all the way north. I'm sure they would come and look for the person that is going way up, or even to whatever side, because it goes around. But yeah, when it comes to the south, like I said, it would be mainly, most likely, because of that continent. And of course, all of that could change. Like I said, the map could be different than what I'm showing. I already said that from the beginning, but I have come to this way of thinking of the sun and the moon moving above our heads, mainly because of what we see in nature. If you go south, Stars move one way, the water does also. If you go north, the other way. And in Enoch says that the sun goes north before going back to the east. And when it comes to the other flat earth model, the sun is always going west, continually west, 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 because it's going around, and west and east and west are just like this on the most common flat earth map. Here's another one, and I made it this way to show the four corners, right? North, west, south, and east. And I don't know if there was something else to show. These to show that they're exactly the same in size. So since we are seeing it here, kind of, they say like this is Australia. Like the people that say that the map is shown on the moon. And well, it doesn't look that dark here, so it would be better if it was a bit darker, because I could say, let's say this would be America, this would be, I don't remember exactly, but I remember it was Australia according to them. So yeah, they say that this would be the map. The darker parts of the moon would be a reflection of the map of the earth. And Josue asked about Polaris. Polaris um, would be right here, a star on the firmament right here. That would be Polaris. And then there is another star in the south, but it is not yet right in the middle, so it would be more like here. But there is a Polaris, which is the north star, and there's a south star, but it is not as famous because it's not right in the middle as Polaris has been for a while. In the other map, they put Polaris right in the middle of the Earth, for everything goes around and around and around Polaris. And remember, I also showed on the Stellarium, which we can do next week if you guys want, because I would have to install it and everything. I showed how the sun, even in their model, moves that way, one way on some months, and then the other way on the other months. So even with that model, we were able to see that movement that I'm trying to show here. But yeah, that was, I repeat, a good question, Celio, but I believe that the conclusion to which they reach regarding the treaty happening because of the wall or the firmament. I mean, the wall's still there. It's just not all south. But since they have that map, I'm pretty sure that that's why they conclude that the treaty was to hide the firmament. Yet, if we include the story of Bird, he said that there was a continent when he kept going south. So if it was, I would say, if the continent is within the earth, which is, it is, if the continent is within the earth, it would be closer to humans than the actual wall of ice. Because he even said that the land there was green. It wasn't frozen. So he went through a frozen place, and he reached a place that was sunny. So it was a good land. That means that it wasn't as close to a wall yet of ice. What I mean by that is that it would be easier to find the continent if we were allowed to explore. It would be easier to find the continent than to find the ice wall, because the ice wall would be farther away than a continent that isn't frozen. I hope the logic is being understood. So I believe that they came to that conclusion because of the way they see the map. Is obvious to come to that conclusion. But when you notice those details, how the sun moves, it makes an 8. Enoch tells us that the water moves this way, the stars move that way. Then I tend to conclude that the treaty was to hide the continent, which would be closer or easier to find than the actual wall of ice. And Still, even if they found the wall of ice, that to them, unless they knew, to them would be just a wall of ice, which would be normal to find away from the sun. The issue would be to go up that wall and continue going in with some equipment, because you would have to reach there with a big ship and then go up with a perhaps a helicopter, something like that, to continue. And it would be dangerous because you may hit the firmament, as it happened also to Bert. He wasn't in the vehicle, but he said that that started to happen to some people who started hitting something that they thought was a Nazi base, but ended up being the firmament. So hopefully that helped, brother. But I repeat, it's a good question, and still we'll find more regarding the earth and how everything fits, but everything has to fit correctly. So yeah, that's why so far I lean for this um model. And as it says here, the continents on the map are not found uh in order according to reality, but it is simply an approximate taking the projection called azimuthal of Lambert. Azimuthal, or might have a different pronunciation. Is why would there be stars in the north and stars that we wouldn't see from where we are? um, like I said, there are like the more you go to the north, obviously the less you will see the south, even the heavens. So the more you go to the north, the less you will see the stars that are going around in the south. Here, like look where the moon is, right? And let's say it's going around and around and around this way on the north. So imagine a bunch of constellations there, while other constellations here. And I'm not only talking about the 12 where the sun goes through, I'm talking about the all the constellations that there are in the firmament. So if you are here in the north, you are right, Alaska, somewhere around there, you won't be able to see the stars that are being shown here, that are going around here. You may from here see some of the stars when they go through here. You may, but I think it's too far, really. But obviously you won't see anything that is around here in the heavens. The same way, if you go south, you will see different stars than the ones on north. So the point, one thing is that the earth and the heavens are huge. So the more you move on the land, also you're moving under the firmament, and therefore under the stars, going away from the stars that you were under previously. Plus, they move one to one side on north and to the other side on the south, which is like the 2 feet of Yahweh, since the earth is his footstool. So each foot is pretty much where the sun goes around and then goes to the next foot and then to the other foot and then to the other foot. And so there are different stars or constellations on each of the feet of Yahweh when it comes to seeing the earth as the footstool. So the question was, will they go at certain hour? If we are going to see them a certain hour, not necessarily a certain hour, but possibly at a certain month, because through time they will get, some of them will get closer to us, but not all. It's not like, from our point of view, we won't see all the stars. Nobody can see all the stars in the firmament from one point of view in the earth. That's why I mentioned how big it is. Like if you want to see other stars, you have to move on the plane to be under a different part of the firmament. But since the firmament is going around and around over us, we do see some difference in the constellations throughout the year. So I hope that's understood. It's just um, so big that that's why that happens. And it wouldn't be at 1 hour specifically. It would be a one time during the year in which you may see certain stars that you were not seeing previously. And yeah, it all happens according to the movement of the rakia or the firmament. So yeah, hopefully that helped, brother. Shalom. Um, I'm trying to, like, for instance, and yeah, I said I'm gonna close. For instance, here in the analemma, you see how the circle under it is way bigger than the circle above it. So imagine this circle above it is really small. So that's pretty much how your view of the stars on that part of the firmament will shrink also. So you won't be able to see a bunch of the stars that are in that part of the firmament because you are barely seeing the sun. I hope that is understood a little bit. And I say you barely are seeing the sun. Obviously, you are seeing the sun because it is a day, but it is a lot farther away than when it was here. So thinking in that sense, the same happens with the stars. You're going to see these stars closer than these stars. If we were to see each of these parts as the 2 feet of the footstool. So yeah.